Hi guys, it's your boy in the AK93BW garage, Matthews garage here. Um, I had a clip just muted myself, and I restarted, but I would more show you the clip and talk about the reasoning. Here we do have an S2000 bought. So in the beginning of the video, we have the S2000. We bought Alfa Romeo C4 Spider, 4C Spider. My vehicle here, my favorite of the most, uh, the M3 GTS OB, is because of its shape, the the color we have it in the red with the black rims. Of course, just my favorite aspect to show the cars are the lights, the good lights to the curvature. It just so fits the BMW logo as perfect. We have the Skyline GTR in its uh, awesome state here of the Fast and Furious uh, state or its look. So, as I was conducting theory, we were racing an R33 and the R35 just to show vast difference of time relay and how much of the car industry has made better of the vehicle. So for that is when I show you in the video is us showing the R35 does a almost ratio to gearing on camshaft is making high resonation, and what's amplified is the rotation to of what you're hearing versus the combustion of a piston, which gets your car up to speed. So that's to gear shifting or to the gear turning. And as to say, we checked out, and then the R35 does the races to show that in that case that the R35 uh, it makes power to amp up to speed, but in the camshaft it's of how much power is made up to get up to speed. As for the pistons, is really not what you're hearing, but it's what's being applied to the camshaft, which is what you hear being louder and louder. So as for that, we had the thought of how much power is put in, as to say on a graph, it's making power to the nearest ratio. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then through 5 and 6 is when the power would start decreasing. And when you use the fourth gear, you push into fourth gear, it would be much more easier. That's what was cured, and through it we do see that the with our transmission it does show it better. Through the R33's perspective, we did race it, and we started conducting of how the vehicle would make power, and what's the difference was that it makes on a graph of high power to resonation to so through 1, 2, 3 onto fourth gear, it's making an equity charge of how much power is going to be applied in the fourth gear. So when using fourth gear, we realize that we do need of the more push, so of the high rev on the over rev. We would state that we can almost use a over rev, or statistics would say that it would be more to the deficit. So on 5.6, it's just as easy to use the choreography of how the gear and shifting would be with the power and air intake. That was differences in air and air intake. It states that the R33 would use power to of how it wants, and not of how much is actually used, or what can be applied. As for the R33, we do use the power, and it's taking up to wanting to use power, but excuse me. So to power of how much power is applied is that in ratio, it uses the air intake but is a sub underdude and would need turbo installment. And with that, of course, you have the wheel spin, and wheel spin would need tires. You would need a better air intake system to apply that. Using turbo wouldn't just be enough and would overrush the car. And as so, we have the Rocket Bunny Corvette Stingray here on the side. Is one of the Batmobiles we have here. We're setting 2 Batmobiles in the game to help us out. We're just gonna have the theme. We do have the Toyota A86 running with it as much with the Rocket Bunny. We have 2 Mustangs. We just grabbed the black one. We actually, no, we bought the silver Mustang Premium. We won an RS5 coupe not that long ago, and I have raced the Premium to show you of how much power can be used. So what I wanted to state of the Mustang was that we took on with the color and rims black when we bought it, and then with upgrades of how we upgraded it, we applied to it with low amounts of power. But because of that, we have the we have a high NOS, a lightweight, some couple other parts if I do remember, to show you what I have is this here. We have the body is lightweight. The nitrous isn't much used. We have a one state stereotyping that is just not much room, and the car would be heavier. It has a heavy V6, and along with tires that are 21, 22 inch, it just wouldn't be helpful. Alright, as soon as we are able to, we will be upgrading the turbo nitrous body and the air intake as a set. Now, as I have it, the Ford Mustang engine is of course upgraded. We would need the stainless steel exhaust, just so that when I was talking about turbo not being much, along with the tire upgrades. So as for that, we only have, or we also add in the valve pipe, and it has this oversized part behind the turbo. Most cars could run, most Mustangs can run without that extension, but it would overheat and sludge the car. Along with the low tires, we will be in the sooner future using these low set 2 tires, just so because we would need a vehicle that has thick tires and that can actually take a grip on the road, versus a super slicks, which when we use it is just going to be less power. It's going to stunt the car. And when I say that, running it with a stainless steel to the turbo on the upgrade and nitrous, that when we have that and we lower the tires, it's going to apply more of a quicker stamina in vehicles response uh, response, and we would have a turbo installment. The turbo installment wouldn't be as used. We are going to have this along with the valve. We're going to upgrade it with this so that it takes the air intake better. That's what we have. We have the lightweight system. Just due to because um, when I was talking about it, you would need of tires and then a turbo and transmission. I mean, just because it would be of great power, but the vehicle wouldn't be as quick. So that's why we also have the strip body. So I would always recommend the body and turbos, and then tires, and then start feeling for how much of the air intake upgrade you can have with the transmission, because it would be of a lightweight system in the transmission to how much air intake you'll have. So as before, the car wouldn't be overheated just using the turbo, because the pipes for the inside of the pistons are bigger by a centimeter or an inch and a centimeter. So I believe so turbo wouldn't make that much of a high amp to overheat the car until you add nitrous. So body, turbo, engine, nitrous, tires, intake, and then body. Anybody listening? That's as to say for what we've been conducting in the second garage. We tested out the M2 Competition because of its class, and why we wanted to race was that Beamer has created a high evolution vehicle coming from a standard factory, which just created the luxurious of a vehicle from planes. I'm not sure much of how much the before time and standard of how much they would create for a car is, but and for that we raced it, and I wanted to show you that the Beamer has a better quality system versus of any other car in here, except for the two in line behind it. But I mean that for the Ford Mustang, even though we did race this Ford Mustang in the before video, and then versus a Ferrari, the transmission state is just going to be applied more and have more of a tire drifting and spin out. So that's why these cars are like kind of quick on hand, but some are using for drift. Some use for drift because of its lightweight seminar. As for what we have, the installments, we do have to, and we will upgrade the body part, strip out the power steering, yes, and then add engine to turbo with it. So we will be having body and engine power, and then adding the turbo in later, just to get that extra power. But as we have now, we have the open end just to relieve the power to this engine. We don't really need much of its explosive power. We have the lightweight system that helps out with that. We do use the tire upgrade, just the level 1, stating that we're going to have the light tires to a heavy car. And so with that, we have the transmission, the A86, my boys. For what I was saying about it, we are not selling this vehicle at all, not one. not while in any time soon. Reason is because it's just a soul handled vehicle that it's very liked by in aesthetics to my own self. It's just that good of a car. We're running it quite with high statistics. We tuned it to best. I will have a video ready for it. Um, yeah, we have carbon fiber with brown, the normal hood. We have a stance. It's a racer. We do have the Evo Evolution Lancer, which most we've done was the color. In the clip, it shows that we have a wide body running, which conducts really when you have a car and the spokes are low, or no, with a wide body that has lowest and angle that faces the air downwards, pushing it downwards to as low as the spokes. We were actually going and choosing a better fitment for ourselves, and for that, we're just running it with this matte gray, dark gray, just because it looks nicer. We're gonna be putting lightweight rims just for specialty to have a good traction. We're just gonna be running with another upgrade of tires to keep it with balance, because this car is lightweight even though it's a four door, and also to state that with rims that we upgrade to it, we're gonna need just so and so rims that are going to be of great mass, because the vehicle is wobbly on high speeds. It would have a better traction system. Not to say that you're not going to gain speed, not to say that your car is not going to make a good rational event of itself to transmission, to how much the rotation can put to transmission. So it's as that you'll have more traction than better traction. But we will have the installment of tires for better traction. Slicks, the sticky tires. The 302 Boss, we just have the blue and yellow pinstriping colors. We're just going to be upgrading rims. As for that, I do love the car. We have the Supra, where we have a wide body setup, and the system does have minor upgrades. We are still going to be upgrading it. We have nothing to do as for right now. We will be entering turbo with our third upgrade that we already have. We do have the engine setup. Once we upgrade the turbo once again, we will be installing the refitment for this engine only on set 4 turbo. Set 4 turbo, we will start installing the engine product as that, because it's just a low car. It's quick. Its shape does angle air. It's through and out. It goes quicker. As for that, we have the custom spoiler set number 1, I believe, not 2, but with the bill. I don't like the bills on the how it looks, especially on the Toyota GR. It just has that weird curvature, that like front to back curvature, not top bottom. It's just like that. What we have running on with the Viper Dodge is that we do have tuned the Dodge Viper, because before we had a rocket pack, pop pack for the third gear that we were running it. We were just wanting to upgrade the vehicle much most. The Dodge Demon has minor upgrades. As I was showing you, the Camaro SS 2021, another one of my fan favorite vehicles that I love, is that we colored it, misplaced the color, I mean. We changed the tires, rims dark color. We had the alloy steels. We put the matte hood, and yes, that is it for that. We do have a better vehicle. I would say that we fully upgrade to a better setup for the Camaro. Air intake is at a decreased upgrade, so we settled it with this one. Not entering a spool, just so that when we do apply it, is going to be better when we have a turbo set 5 and the engine set still, because the engine is such a good engine. It holds it to a standard that it's already constructed of itself, since it was in the people's view when it first came out in 1847, that the first Camaro was a people's car used for gas mileage, as to say it was best of its own image, or not of its own image, of its standards. So as to say, through its concoction of the years, that the vehicle was running better and better with its count and movement of how a vehicle is. To say that is the camshaft and power to distribution of how much explosive can be in a pipe or in the piston valves. To show you, here's the next video clip. Hope you guys like it, and I'll come back real soon. Hey guys, alright. To tell you about it, we did have the two Mustangs, and I showed you that it was not on. I was not on a go with selling it. One reason was because of retail and how used in real world to the game is. We do show that uh, when reselling a car, that some aftermarket parts are just overwhelming, and most people would only buy a vehicle of its condition. And for say that reasoning why I would rather sell the premium later, the unupgraded one, is for because I wouldn't sell it just offering a low price that's going to be just held for someone. I'd rather have the Ford Mustang and of how I would have the upgrade and just reselling a vehicle to say that with the aftermarket, that having both vehicles in my garage is like how much of a price can be. And so to say that we still keep the black one and keeping it compatible with normal parts, no aftermarket, it is like a protective state that we're holding it and it's our possession. That's what I want to get to you, and that's what I'm saying. And as for that, why we have the other Mustang, why someone would like reason as for selling a Ford Mustang with the aftermarket parts is because I'd rather sell it with the normal parts uh, pre-installed again or reinstalled, as because uh, when having the car, it can have the transmission, it can have every upgrade, but no one's gonna want to buy the car just for a high amount that you praised it for. It's just a game that when talking about the car, someone's gonna buy the car because of its evolution and revolvement of how good the car can react, or how much better the car actually shows that it can be on the road just for a long amount of time. Moving on, we will be racing a Super Snake and the Buffalo Camaro. That's what I call it. Um, I will be having it set and settled that the Camaro is of my top best cars in comparison to the Ferrari, the Evolution, and the Toyota GR. Next coming up as for tiers would be Dodge Demon, the Toyota FRS, and we do have the BMW M2. We have the Mustang Boss 302, and the BRZ kind of fits in relative to the other Mustang Super Snake as a tier 3 because of its high resolution. It's not because of its wheel spin. It's more for the reason that both cars have a power ratio that can supervise amongst its vehicle's transmission. So the vehicle can hold up power through 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, but that's only after aftermarket parts are installed. As I showed in previous videos, the BRZ does a high amount of rev, and to gears, it's going to handle if you when you change it gears for any of those vehicles that I state in the tier of the ranking that I put them in. The three set is said that once you gear ratio change, that the car is going to handle better under pressure. The Camaro just is a lighter substitute of a vehicle, that the horsepower is actually set easier. So when racing, the 4 to 5, and then it would say 6 is going to need the push power from 4 to 5. 5 would be the high resonation, but because of the gear ratio of a Camaro, that it's a lighter gear with longer teeth, so it would be of a better power from 4 to 5, needing that push. I'll show you now. In the previous video, I do race live races for the reason, not because to show off, but as I do like the controversy of many people with their vehicles and how they upgrade it versus how people really do race the story mode in this game. It's just a clear set part of F1 to logics of how smooth the car can do a ratio change system to how much power is amped in a car. So not many cars can keep up with my car. Yeah. Here we're racing this Mercedes-Benz C63, a 6.7 liter in silver with Rocket Bunny AMG. Clean race, nothing to have moved in our upgrading system. As I say, this car, the Camaro, is just a clean set car. We do have it on a high ratio for how much power we put to gears. So we don't have the gears set really short. We just have the gears set for an easier mark to mark of how much power. And for that, when I say that, is that we measure of how much horsepower was inputted to the ratio for fifth gear. So in upgrading or in tuning, for tuning, we do really put more amp to the horsepower to keep the horsepower in a stasis of analoging how the horsepower will continue in an amp. That wasn't fair. That's a S13. That's an S13. You know Nissan has a great expectation for its vehicles, and even to then, the vehicles have just increased spectacularly in image to form of cutting through of air. Here we have a Ford Focus RS. This one car is pretty short-ended. Not to say much except for its horsepower to tire traction would be uneven, and then speed would just be accumulated due to its shape and air intake of the power. As I say that, you wouldn't really see a Ford Focus on the street with really good tires, but you would see it more stanced and having the ability of a good range terminology for transmission and wide bodies. You would probably like the Ford Focus RS more than an Audi or a Camaro, just because it has space, but it is a good community vehicle. Here, these Ferraris, F40s, F50s, I think, F40, 140s are pretty quick. I was racing one the other day. He caught up on me once. We raced 3 races. It was pretty fun. I mean, not to say that he couldn't catch up. He was almost close on my end, but he wasn't really. He didn't show much of the horsepower to begin with, and I won. Thanks. The applause, gracias. Now we race the Super Snake Shelby. For upgrades, we don't have much upgrades. We do have the Set 2 upgrade for the engine, Set 2 upgrade for the tires. Body is lowered. Through that, we just realized that the Mustang Super Snake wasn't really in any good stance. So what we would want is a transmission upgrade along with a full engine power. It is built different. It's built almost to say the 302 Boss, with a gear transmission ratio on 3 to 4, with a more push, or not more push, with the misplacement of tires traction to skidding across the floor to get more up to speed. But it's not that much of a difference. It's almost using like the Dodge Turbo, but not really the Dodge Demon Turbo. It's to say that the axle length is longer. So as for the length of it, the Super Snake is, I would say, about almost 3.2 centimeters longer, and with the misplacement of a front, and with the front tires misplacement, probably for a better traction system. What Ford really tries improving is their aerodynamics, as the Ford GT prevails, is the faster of the vehicles. Okay, let's get to it, guys. The Mercedes AMG. It's a very low, timid car. It does conduct power just as great as air intake can be provided for it. It's a gas mileage car, and it does waste a bit more gas than it really shows. It's a slow vehicle on start, but in this case it beat us aftermarket parts. One transmission upgrade, full tires, and I would say a turbo. That's for what's on it. I say the turbo and not air intake because as for resonation of the engine power, it's just showing that it's going to be louder. It's going to be way louder with the air intake. Once you do have tires, it is going to be more stress on the engine power, and then you'll have a stance. So it might as well be having a turbo instead, and that's really going to improve it more. Just the stage 1 improvement was actually going to improve the vehicle's power, just because It's a clear throttle to air intake is how it works. The air intake wouldn't really be as much help because it would be a bigger hole. It doesn't really say that the car is going to take in that much air. Like I say, that AMG GT GTR is faster off the line because the Ford Mustang has a heavier shape. My tires aren't actually as great. I have lighter rims too, and then I would need a better air intake upgrade. We do have these other Super Snakes that even with the axle length, that you wouldn't get a proper applied power to any of a ratio for the gears. So we'll see. We'll test it out. We'll see which one wins better. I really think it's gonna be me because the power does have power to gearing. So even with the normal transmission, it is gonna be better. It's just gonna have the click system to push, but you would need that upgraded. And that's a win, guys. That's a win. Alley-oop. As for our ranking system, we have reached the 150,000 mark to win the newest prize. And we do really want the Lamborghini. We're really trying hard for that Lamborghini. I need the cheers, guys. I need the cheers. We can race one of two of these Corvettes. I know they're pretty heavy, or not pretty heavy, but they are pretty quick, and then they're more traction on the ground, which makes the car better because it's heaviness. It's a light vehicle as is, but it still makes itself heavier. And then with the air that it can cut through, it's just a wide enough car that the air will push down on certain parts, like the curvature of the front to the high end of the back and flatness. Reason I would say is the Corvette's shape to the front does how much power it pushes sideways and not over the car. So and I tell you that air that is around the car is always falling down. No matter what, air in front of you, air on top of you, it's going to be falling down. That's with anything. Anything. An RV. Anything. So you're better just taking it on the low mileage, but still going pretty quick with an RV. Except for the pointy ones. You know those pointy ones? Like the ones that look like an arrow on Snapchat. I've seen those arrows. It's just an arrow that looks boxy. More boxy than enough. Yeah, that was a complete loss. That Corvette had us for almost to measure almost a 3-1 or a 2-7. I wasn't paying attention. I only say that as for a car fan, I do strategize of how much of the three combos of an engine piston is: the V4, V6, and the V8. Rarely to the V12s, unless I'm racing a Lambo or Ferrari. Aston Martins. I raced the Aston Martin. It's kind of similar to the Corvette, but only as that it has a slow takeoff to of how high speed it can go, but it's not much. The differences are the axle lengths, the tires, and how much air your car can get in through an intake. That was the Super Snake. You say it here first. Now, we do have the F40 in our garage over here. The superstar of the show has its own room. I really want this McLaren. This is a nice McLaren F1. But we have refurbished the engine. We have refurbished the paint. We do look forward on to restoring the interior. As for upgrades, you'll see what we do. You'll see what we have. We don't have much. 250, 240. I'm so stupid. Minor inconvenience. I just want to think that I know of the car, but then the numbers get chronological between G. Let me think. Ferrari has the F40s. There's the Mercedes, and then Lotus, Dodge Viper, I think, and Ford Mustang, or Ford itself with anything of pickup and the two doors. So we ran that passing the finish line with a 123. I think 124 is the fastest, but that's on a different set strain. It is that you have the tires onto a level 5 or 4 upgrade. You will have the upgrade set 1, and then this helps more than anything is the lightweight reduction, and then engine power with a set 2 or 1. You can choose any of those two. It just depends on your transmission ratio to tire with the tire upgrades, because when you do accelerate more, that the gearing transmission is just gonna handle differently. It's on some cars that there's a computer that it sets a timing system versus on this F40 250, I mean, that the acceleration on itself is a good handleable car, that to set your transmission, it'll set it faster than speed, or slow enough to catch up on horsepower to catch up to gearing. So it would be a smoother transmission, like a speeding bullet train. 125. That's a new record. I tell you right now, uh, for what we placed down on our high speed test, a 125 is because of our early shift. Not from 4 to 5, but it can be 4 to 5 rarely, depending on how much rev was put from horsepower. When you state that you should have of horsepower, it can be anywhere amongst the dial. It's just a rev can be almost of a hyper speed push versus a high equity account of how much power was already uh, going in acceleration to a vehicle, which I'll show you gives a car its high point standard of takeoff. Right now we are racing against our own timing speed. I'll usually do this. Racing against your high timing speed is that your car was already racing at its normal high resilience, and then from gear shifting, if you do more horsepower range to from 2 to 3, that that your car will be already in pushing manner. So as cutting through air, your car would still be having the high speed tactic, and then with the horsepower applied, you will be racing more aerodynamic to have your horsepower racing. Here is one with a racing speed of how we can catch up to our own racing time speed, but I will be doing a bit quicker than our normal time. That wasn't good. Here's one more. So running that 4th to 5th gear, we actually gained, I'd say, of a 1.2 seconds to more or less of our catch-up speed. I don't know how it goes, but we ran it faster, changing the gears a bit earlier in seminar. That's the 250 GTO. Right now we're going to complete all these goals. So complete all 3 of 6 goals. Spend 50,000. Performs 6 perfect launches. Upgrade 4 parts. We can do that. Spending cash is my favorite. We will be upgrading the turbo. We have to have a settled air intake system just for gearing transmission. That's 40,000. Here's the 33,000. Okay, so to explain, We have not done engine. We will be doing tires after nitrous and the body upgrade. So we had a turbo installment to be added because yes, we do have the slight effect of how much air is actually being inputted, that through a crack of the front intake, was that just because of the spool is going to have the lesser of the air pressure, versus when we have that, it's a whole held system. It's a hold, so the spool on the propeller is going to be just working at the greatest minor speed, versus having almost slowing down and then running back up of the speed. The transmission we have on help, it will be this here with the air spool takeout cleanser for hot air, so that way the oil doesn't just get sludgy, ruining our gears, of course. I'll show you next off of how quick the Demon works. So what we have as installment, I'll show you now that you don't really need high expectation for turbo, but it is just better with this installment. It's going to have the better thrust, and then the car, as to say, with this, just alone, with the upgrade that it provides, it's like the air system except to a thinner valve which gets pushed into the car. With this, it's just a hand job, so it's going to overpower the car. It might explode. Another one is this here. We have the air intake. We will be extending it, and that's it. That's the most we're doing. We don't need any other tire. We have these ones installed just because of traction purposes. It's a bit slippery because we have more traction versus these, but these just have the less traction to have. Even though they're better at the high speeds for traction, they're not gonna get you up to speed as these. But these are just because on liftoff they are just as heavy as the other ones, but these ones just have the traction more manipulated and can work on running water almost. It can drive. It'll have a better drive. Knowing that we just have the same weightness, so it's going to be more handled versus these. Alright, let's get tuning, guys. Oh, nitrous only. Wonderful. We will be running the Demon. We have matte black spoiler, matte black hood, neon green paint job, and taking on conversion of power, we just have the light wheel system. So when we do accelerate, the car's not heavy. We do have the lightweight system of the add-on upgrades, just so we can actually fit in the part turbo full air intake, and then tires upgrade is just the handling purpose. So that's what's the use to also add in as weight. Near miss, dude, near miss. Oh great, it's a Beamer driver. Ah, the 1v1 Chevys. Now, taking note that the Camaro of its time has the applied power that even a normal Camaro should have a catch-up speed. We're just going to be testing that car versus mine and see if mine stays at a good strategy speed or if it exceeds better. So it did is just a different gear. How the Camaro is the length, and then length with the high resonation to gear. So depending on how equivalent you can make of a gear is how much power can be put in It can be of a 2, a 3, or a 1 gear. I say that because I wouldn't use a 1 gear. It's just a waste of NOS. It's just a waste of NOS. I wouldn't do that. There's the stage 3, or no, the gear range 3, which actually helps more. He had his on 2, I believe, and his was just making the horsepower more to how much he can apply on that gear. Ours was just an equivalent to have second gear on a higher ratio resonation. So our cars were very much alike. Mine just had the even equity of second gear being able to shift, and then have ambled third, fourth, and fifth on his. Let's race us this Goliath. Oh, it's a nice color. Nice color. I never really saw a long car from the Alfa Romeo. It's a well-made car. I wouldn't lie. It doesn't look good to me. Not a fan favorite. Yes, the Goliath catches up, guys. I can't believe it. I mean, most often than not, the Goliath is a pretty quick car on the hand to shifting, so then the power can just be accumulated. It's almost like more power to the second gear and third gear being used more abruptly, so the spinning is actually going to be ahead of timing. So shifting is going to be just as easy. It's not no Dodge Demon, with a turbo, or with the turbocharger. So it's just going to be more power on for a Goliath. Quadrifoglio is the second gear, has big teeth, but because it's a 4-door car, its length is kind of off-centering how much power there is, but all the heaviness is going to be in the front. I cannot say why, but the engine really is heavier. It's probably all the air that goes into it, because it is more of a wall that would hit of any car. It can hit any car. It's a wall. So it's actually like mass trajectory. Now I can show you how mass trajectory can be differentiated to a vehicle. You catch up to speed versus using speed unless you want to be a bullet, which it only works most with a Nissan 35. As for the Camaro, it would be heating up, but not overheated. What I take in was the air intake would be suctioning up the air, more or less. The Camaro just has the wide enough bumper and air intake through the front, which makes agility much more better, and which gives us that extra horsepower to it. As for this Audi, we can show you it's actually a mid-engine vehicle, which isn't going to show much difference. But if it was front and had air intakes, but to show nonetheless, the air intakes are on the side, which actually form air, and it's going to be different because, well, less handled because the air intakes are smaller. As for that Audi, it had proper upgrades. It had tire, lightweight. I do believe it had level 2 of the transmission. It had level 2 of the engine power. And so even with that, the air intake was going to be much needed. He could have left off, as I did in the pre-stage with the other vehicle, just to say that he would need an air intake that was going to be handled. Even with the small air intakes, the air wasn't even going to go into the air intakes as well because they're on the side of the car. It's just not as useful. To tell you guys once again, we haven't reached the first or any of the top 50 tiers, 48 tiers, but to talk about it, we are trying and getting most of what we can. We got here some gold, we got some keys, bronze keys, and so to say, this was your boy Matthew, and here we was testing our cars. I really hope you guys liked the video. Make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, tell me what you think of the cars, which one has your favorite color, or which one goes to your liking of how fast it is, or what's the best look for it. Maybe you don't want the black rims on the Camaro. I can change them. I have some slight upgrades. We have rims galore, my boys. We can go up to level 28. I really want these level 28 rims. Please come and subscribe to my channel. Leave a like. And sometimes we'll even switch it up a bit. We take those white ones. That was it for you guys. I'm out.